welcome to News Now on TV360. I am Thelma Okoro. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) has extended the tenure of Ahmed McCarthy-led caretaker committee for 1 year. The announcement was made at the PDP Secretariat in Port Harcourt, Rivers State by Chairman of the Convention Planning Committee, Nyesom Wike. The party also adjourned its national convention, which was earlier scheduled to take place on Wednesday at the Shak Stadium in Port Harcourt. This comes barely 24 hours after Justice Okon Abang of the Federal High Court in Abuja ordered the Ahmed McCarthy faction to stop the party's national convention. The party was unable to hold its convention following the ruling as security agents sealed off the venue. Now the extension means the party will hold its next convention after 1 year. According to the party, during that time, it would have resolved its lingering leadership crisis. Factional chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Aliko Dangote, has slammed the National Executive Council meeting of the PDP, which extended the tenure of the Ahmed McCarthy-led caretaker committee by 1 year. He described the meeting as a huge joke. He said the meeting was in breach of Section 31 of the PDP Constitution, which makes the national chairman the sole authority with a mandate to convene the NEC meeting. Sheriff said INEC has not been put on the mandatory 3 weeks notice, neither has he as chairman been put on 1 week notice, even if it was an emergency meeting. He also called on members of PDP to disregard everything that has taken place in Port Harcourt, as it was done in gross violation of a court order. Rivers State Police Commissioner Francis Odesanya says he never sealed off the convention venue of the People's Democratic Party, but was only providing security. Security agents had prevented a faction of the PDP from holding its convention by sealing off the venue. Now, Odesanya explained that by his action, he was only complying with a court order. In his ruling on Tuesday, Justice Okon Abang had ordered the McCarthy faction of the People's Democratic Party to stop its planned national convention scheduled for Wednesday. He also ordered the Inspector General of Police Ibrahim Idris to ensure compliance with the orders of the court. Two federal high courts in Abuja and Port Harcourt had given conflicting positions on the PDP National Convention that was to hold in the Rivers State capital. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) says it never received a judgment to shun the National Convention of the PDP scheduled for Wednesday in Port Harcourt. INEC says it would come up with its position on monitoring of the convention, adding that its staff were on standby for further directive. The Federal High Court in Abuja had barred the PDP from holding its planned national convention in Port Harcourt pending hearing and determination of the substantive suit filed by Aliko Dangote. Nigeria's federal government has approved crude oil production in 4 of the 5 oil wells discovered in Lagos State, the country's commercial city. The Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission revealed this during a courtesy visit to the Lagos State House in Ikeja. Speaking at the meeting, Lagos State Governor Akinwumi Ambode said the commencement of the oil production in the state would enhance the economy of not just the state, but also the nation in general. Earlier this year, Lagos State became an oil-producing state and the only one outside the Niger Delta Basin after over 25 years of oil exploration in the city. President Muhammadu Buhari has ordered the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) to begin an intense search for crude oil from the Benue Trough. NNPC Group Managing Director Mike Kanti Barrow made the disclosure while receiving a delegation from the Benue State government at the corporation's headquarters in Abuja, the nation's capital. The Benue Trough is a major geological formation underlying a large part of Nigeria and extending about 1,000 kilometers northeast from the Bight of Benin and Lake Chad. Nigeria, which is a top oil producer, is reeling from the fall in crude oil revenues, which is the source of 95% of foreign earnings. This has led the Naira to hit record lows on the parallel market amid dwindling foreign exchange reserves. The Lagos State government on Wednesday announced plans to activate multiple projects in the state. One of such projects is the commencement of the construction of a flyover bridge in the popular Penn Cinema junction of the Agege area of the state. The Penn Cinema flyover is the third which the Akinwumi Ambode-led administration will be constructing after those of the Abulegba and Aja roundabout. The state government also announced readiness to commence the deployment of at least 13,000 CCTV cameras, additional 6,000 streetlights across the state from October 2016. The Commissioner of Information, Steve Ayorinde, who announced all the projects, said the government will also decongest traffic along the Lekki-Ekpe Expressway through the removal of at least 3 roundabouts in the area. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has intensified its investigation of the immediate past governor of Ebonyi State, Martin Elechi. Elechi is being questioned over some alleged fraudulent contracts approved by his government. Earlier in the year, the FCC said it had received dozens of petitions against Elechi's government, causing the commission to invite the governor and his son. The Central Bank of Nigeria has raised the volume of dollars to be sold to bureau de change operators in the country to $50,000 weekly as against the $30,000 it recently approved. The dollars are expected to come from diaspora remittances from international money transfer operators through their agent banks. This decision was announced after the Bankers Committee meeting in Abuja on Tuesday. The committee said the increased allocation is aimed at providing more funds for international students and those involved in international travels. Nigeria has been battling with severe forex scarcity following a drastic reduction in its earnings from oil, which accounts for the bulk of source of the country's foreign exchange.
Issues came up about lending and how lending can be done to support the economic condition as we have it today, to support it with low interest lending or single digit lending. So as you may be aware, some time ago, the central bank took from the bank's cash reserves a special sum of money, which we call the Special Intervention Fund. That fund has been with the central bank for some time. It hasn't been disbursed. But there was some discussion around it, and the decision or the agreement was that those funds would be disbursed to support primary agricultural projects, core manufacturing, and core manufacturing in the sense that it must be projects that support import substitution, projects that will help preserve foreign exchange such that whatever we were importing before can be manufactured here. So once those funds are, so it will only be released to those kind of projects. They're not going to be released to any kind of project. It has to be those kind of projects. Once those funds are released, we see, you know, at least there will be some ease in the industry. There will be more liquidity, and you know, important projects will be able to get financing at a lower interest rate, at single-digit interest rate.
About 2 weeks ago, a policy was released that made banks to send monies to BDCs, and BDCs are supposed to pass these monies to Nigerians for various needs. Again, at the meeting today, and as I suspected, we got feedbacks from the market, and CBN, being a responsive regulator, has decided to move the limit of $30,000 per BDC to $50,000. So we believe that this development will make more cash available to the BDCs and increase the supply, and this will help to drive down the price.
The committee says it will engage the public more on the need to save as part of the celebration of the World Savings Day. It also says the Lending Intervention Fund will support critical areas like agriculture, job creation, and import substitution.
In October, a one-month program will be flagged up to educate Nigerians about the need for all and sundry to be included in the financial system, to reduce the level of those that are excluded and raise the financial inclusion statistics to at least 80%. Among those issues that, or the topical issues that will be in the campaign include the KYC issues. People should know what they require to open an account or to be in the financial sector, the issues of cashless, the less use of cash and use of electronic money, and related issues of fraud, how people will be conscious of all these issues. The Bankers Committee and the Central Bank is wanting to get the financial media to be part of this campaign, and will conduct a 2-day training program to sensitize the media so that they can convey this message appropriately.
As you all know, savings is one way to grow an economy. And if you look at all developed countries, they save very massively. So we have decided that the World Savings Day for 2016, that all the banks, we are going to divide ourselves and we are going to go around and cover all the local governments in the country to create the awareness, not just about financial inclusion, but on the need for people to save massively. The more we have savers in the banking industry, the more the banks can intermediate effectively, the more we can grow the pool of funds available for lending and thereby growing the economy.
Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, says he will continue to invest in Niger despite the country's economic woes. Speaking at a business forum, Dangote argued that the only way Niger's economy could improve was through creative business investments. He also outlined his business plans for the coming period.
Through my business life, I've learned that problems and difficulties are also great opportunities. People can make quite a lot out of difficulties, and I think our difficulties today in Nigeria should be turned into opportunities. You need the skills and the foresight to spot them and the courage to attack when others are retreating. Our latest venture, as you know, in Lagos, we have major projects that we are doing, but we are not retreating. We have the biggest fertilizer in the whole of Africa, which is 3 million metric tons, which we are building. We have the largest single line of refinery in the world, which is 650,000 barrels, with 1.3 million tons of polypropylene, polyethylene. We also have gas pipeline, which we are building, is 530 kilometers, 2 of them bringing them from Boni down to Lagos, here in Lekki. So this is just to open the entire economy, not only of Nigeria, but West Africa. We are continuing to invest through this current downturn with the expectation that our investment will actually pay a handsome reward when, as it always does, as the cycle turns.
To arrest the free fall of the Nigerian currency, the naira, the Nigerian government says it will inject 100 billion naira into the economy next week. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo told industrialists at the 2016 Presidential Policy Dialogue session in Lagos State that this will help cushion the effect of the scarcity of dollar and help the naira to bounce back. Our correspondent Abiola Ismail now reports.
This is one of the many economic gatherings that have come within a week in Nigeria as the government seeks to explain its policies. The forum, tagged 2016 Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry Presidential Policy Dialogue Session, is also seeking to find lasting solutions to the economic downturn that the country is facing currently. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo tells his audience of big private sector players here that the government will continue to create an enabling environment for business to thrive, with an assurance that by this week, there will be an additional injection of 100 billion naira into the economy.
These interventions have helped to boost household and social spending, which were key steps to prevent the economy from falling deeper into recession. Of course, many of the states still have problems with paying their salaries, and the problem has not disappeared on account of the interventions that the federal government has made. But we are committed to supporting the state governments, and especially where that is in keeping with the fiscal responsibility plan, which we have all agreed, all the states and federal government at the National Economic Council agreed to keeping to a plan which ensures fiscal discipline, which ensures control of expenditure, plugging leakages, improving Nigeria.
Industrialist and Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, who chaired the session, advised government to have regular interface like this with the private sector to address the seemingly inconsistency in government policies.
We would like to know, first of all, how did the others fail before us, so that we don't go into industry and then we also, fail. And two of the things, we actually, realized there were two things. Number one was power. Number two was inconsistency in government policies. How do we mitigate it? The one is that either you generate your own power. The second one is one that you have to have continuous dialogue with government so that they can actually understand how painful it is when policies are changed halfway. It's okay sometimes to change policies if it's not favorable to the government or to the country, but not change it halfway. You can say, okay, fine, people who are already in the pipeline, you continue, but this is the new policy that we have from today. So I think that will help quite a lot.
There is need for regular engagement and communication on policy issues to ensure policy feedback and enrich the policy making process. This should cover macroeconomic policies as well as sectorial policies. This will include foreign exchange policy, trade policy, tax policy, energy policy, transport policy, industrial policy, agricultural policy, ICT policy, among others.
There is need for consistency in policy. Some of the policy summaries or changes became inevitable in cause of insecurity there. Now the other issue is the issue of constant and consistent engagement with the business community. I don't think government will lay claim to knowing it all. There's no government that will do that. The government says that, then it's living self-denial. And if you listen to the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, I don't think there's anything that signposts the willingness of government to engage with the private sector, like the Vice President leading his dedication to participate in this program by himself.
We are really very, very concerned about the flexible foreign exchange market of today. When I say we are referring to the manufacturing sector, the 41 items that have been not valid for foreign exchange is still a problem. But as we agree with government in coming up with policies that will help in diversification of the economy or encouraging us to look inwards in our production process.
Factually, everyone here agrees that government-economist dialogue like this is what is needed to get the economy back on track, urging the build on this one. Abiola Ismail, TV360 Lagos.
We'll take a short break and we'll come back. We'll look at how a planned producer meeting is affecting oil prices. Don't go away.
Corruption not in my country.
Mr. John! Mr. John! What is it now?
What is it now?
Please turn down the volume of your music. It's too loud.
And how is that your business?
It is disturbing me. I can't sleep.
And the same way you are disturbing my right to good music and where I enjoy it. Eh? What's wrong with you? Is another person complaining?
Maybe we thought that you have lost your mind. Are you having a party?
I'm just respecting you, sir. You remember I've paid my husband too.
You will not understand why we are complaining because you do not care about other people except yourself. Look, the transformation we need in this country begins in this compound.
Yes, now.
From you, and I. this your selfishness is an offshoot of corruption. And corruption, not in my country.
You know, go to your bank. Go.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. Nigeria's manufacturing sector is seeking the government's intervention to check the increase in the price of natural gas, which is affecting its productions. The group told newsmen that the 65% increase in the price might force some of its members to close shop and lay off workers. Our correspondent, Abiola Ismail, has the details.
Just 24 months ago, this plant was commissioned to produce mainly for export. The plant was one of the 3 plants that belong to a manufacturing company in Lagos, southwest Nigeria, the economic nerve center of Africa. Today, the plant is down and no production is taking place. Of course, more than 1,000 workers in this company may be forced to go home.
For just this operation is 75, but for ancillary we have over 200 that support the operation. That is for every shift, and that is for 3 shifts. Basically, we run this machine for 3 shifts, 7 days in a week and 24 hours. But because of the fact that we can't sell the product now, we can't even run any shift.
The problem this company, like many others in Nigeria, is facing is high cost of price of gas to power their operations. This is one of the industry here in Nigeria, situated in Lagos, the economic nerve center of Africa. This plant has the capacity to produce close to $2 billion production per day. But today, the plants are stopped following the arbitrary increase in the price of gas. In a country that produces crude oil, but unable to meet the zero gas flaring, now the gas users group said, while speaking with newsmen in Lagos, that its members are paying 18 naira 41 kobo, that is about $7.65 per standard cubic meters, an increase of 65%. That is far higher than the international price of an average of $2.05.
The Nigerian man is constrained to draw the attention of the federal government and the general public to the issue of persistent increase in the price of natural gas used by the manufacturers to power their plants and machinery by the gas franchisers. This has persisted for some time now and has reached a crisis dimension, as most factories have stopped production and are about to shut their operations due to non-supply of gas to power their operations on one hand, and the current exorbitant and dollarization pricing of the available ones on the other hand.
Petition all our former processors who were using LPFO for gas, and then we are given a promise that if we converted into the use of gas, which is a greener gas and will help the environment, it will be cheaper by 30%. And so we petitioned all our former processors. As we speak, we have no alternative, and that's why we are crying out loud.
Shegun Oshidipa is a senior officer with the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN. He stated that the body has presented to the government some of the effects of the incessant increase in gas pricing on manufacturers.
The leadership of the association is already on the matter and is currently taking it up with relevant agencies of government. We are trusting and hopeful that respite will come the way of manufacturers, because a huge investment has gone into converting their manufacturing processes into gas, to be able to use gas. You can't use the same generator that you use for diesel for gas. They have invested. And where you are now saying, making it impossible for such gas to be bought.
The group is calling on the legislature to intervene. They said their members are paying in dollar rather than the country's currency, the naira, contrary to the Central Bank of Nigeria's policy against dollarization of the Nigerian economy. Abiola Ismail, TV360, Lagos.
Oil prices fell for the first time in a week on Wednesday, but remained in sight of 6-week highs. This comes as investors weighed up how successful potential talks among producers to rein in ballooning oversupply would be. Brent crude futures were down 55 cents at $48.68 per barrel, while U.S. crude was at $46.13 per barrel, down 45 cents. Prices have risen by nearly 20% in just 2 weeks to their highest since early July, after speculation surfaced that top producers within and outside of OPEC could finally reach a deal on freezing output. An OPEC meeting in June this year failed to reach an agreement to limit production, and the group's output has since reached new record highs. The United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has launched an investigation into accusations that peacekeepers in South Sudan failed to respond properly to an attack on a hotel in Juba. During the incident, the men dressed in uniforms killed a journalist and raped several civilians. A statement from Ban Ki-moon's office said he was alarmed by the initial findings of a UN fact-finding mission into the attack on the hotel terrain on July 11, 2016. This was during an outbreak of fighting between troops loyal to President Salva Kiir and those backing former Vice President Riek Machar. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has overhauled his election campaign team for the second time in 2 months, bringing in a new manager and a CEO. Trump has seen his poll ratings slip since the party conventions held last month. He chose Democratic Party candidate Hillary Clinton, both nationally and in key battlegrounds. The latest shakeup comes at just 82 days before the election scheduled to hold November 8, 2016. Moving on to sports stories now, the league management company LMC has announced the return of Giwa FC to the MPFL following an interim court order. The announcement was made this morning through the company's Twitter handle. Just last week, a federal high court in Jos Plateau State had granted the appeal of the club seeking its reinstatement to the Nigerian Professional Football League. Giwa FC was expelled from the league following the Jos-based side's failure to honor 3 league matches. World Football Governing Body FIFA has cleared 3 Nigerian players of the Dream Team 6 ahead of the Nigeria semi-final clash against Germany. The players each got a yellow card booking in their quarter-final match against Denmark at the Rio 2016 Games. The trio of Mwenfo Sincere, Usman Mohammed and team captain Mikel Obi had their caution wiped out by FIFA. Hence, they will now play in the tie against Germany without any fear of a possible booking that will see them miss the final if they beat the Germans. FIFA amended its tournament's rules a few years ago, cancelling single yellow cards picked up during quarter-final games to stem the tide of key players missing final games due to accumulated bookings. Still on the Rio Games, Nigerian boxer Efe Ajagba has lost in the quarterfinals to Kazakhstan's Ivan Daichko in the Rio 2016 Games. Ajagba is Nigeria's only participant in the boxing event at the Games in Brazil. Daichko won all the 3 rounds in all the judges' scorecards as he scored technical points, while Ajagba was looking for the big punch. In his first games, Ajagba knocked out Nigel Paul from Trinidad and Tobago to reach the quarterfinals of the game. Nigerian sprinter Divine Oduduru has qualified for the semi-final of the men's 200-meter heat of the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. Oduduru achieved a new personal best of 20.34 seconds, finishing just behind Usain Bolt in the race. Usain Bolt easily won the heat in 20.28 seconds. Oduduru is the reigning Nigerian 200-meter champion and the 5-time African junior champion, as well as the 2014 World Junior silver medalist in the 200-meter games. Well, that's all we have on news now. Thank you very much for joining us. I am Thelma Okoro.